20 years ago, I had my first psychotic episode. I had recently watched The Shining and felt like I was possessed by Jack Torrance. I felt that I was possessed by the devil.
One thing I think that perhaps helped me get over being a misfit, a school misfit, and that is that I became interested in photography 12 or 13. I started out by just, getting a camera and learning how to take pictures and learning how to print pictures and learning how to build a darkroom and learning how to do all the technical things. And it was never completely apparent until I graduated from high school that I couldn't go to college, because I graduated in 1945 when all the GIs were now pouring back on the GI Bill, and I had a 67 average.
And I'll move back further if you want to aim the camera in this direction and see if that works. I promise I'm not just typing all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
Yeah, I actually wondered if that's what you were typing.
I know this might seem awkward of you just looking, but trust me, it's good. Just lean into it and just keep staring angrily. And it's like, you will not intimidate me. That's what you're thinking. I will not be intimidated because I am strong and I have the will of
You don't think you're just more
men.
bored?
Okay, let's do that. Roll camera. Whenever I see the image of these two girls, I think of photos of my 6-year-old German grandma, Jutta Berthe. She was born in the 1920s,
presumably around the same time that the Overlook Hotel acquired the twins. Grandma sat with me when I was an adult, and we had a brief conversation about whether or not I believed in God. I said, yes, at times I do believe. She asked what form does God take? And we looked at each other without talking for what seemed like an infinite stretch. But there was a light in her eyes, and I had to conclude she saw something similar in me just then too.
I can remember when I was a little boy, my grandmother and I could hold conversations entirely without ever opening our mouths. She called it shining.
The two creepy girls who were forever bound to haunt the Overlook Hotel would make a psychic break and find themselves hurling through time and space. When free from their supernatural prison, the twins broke away from permanent childhood and grew up to become the young women featured in the 1954 holiday musical White Christmas.
Sisters, sisters, there were never such devoted sisters. Never had to have a chaperone, no sir. I'm here to keep my eye on her, caring, sharing every little thing that we are wearing. When a certain gentleman arrived from Rome, she wore the dress and I stayed home. All kinds of weather, we stick together, the same in the rain or sun. Two different faces, but in tight places, we think and we act as one.
Not many condemned souls can escape the Overlook Hotel. All the ghosts trapped there are forced to haunt the hallways. But in the case of the twins, the fact that they were seen by Danny and he did not turn and run in fear managed to free their souls from torment. All they wanted was for someone to come and play with them.
Those who've seen us know that not a thing could come between us.
Your films have significantly contributed to the stigma surrounding mental illness.
No, I don't think I look at it that way.
Do you think your portrayal of mental illness has somehow been misunderstood?
Substantially, that's what happened.
There have been many critical interpretations of Full Metal Jacket and The Shining. What is The Shining really about?
It's about, it's 5,400 feet an hour.
You're being cute. But the public has latched onto some of your violent characters as examples of what mental illness looks like.
It was a rather interesting example of sort of mass delusion.
You don't claim any responsibility? I've seen all of your films, except your early documentaries. You portray insanity in such a violent, pessimistic way.
You know, that you can figure out where I stand.
Despite your great intellect and sensitivity, you never explored a regular person successfully dealing with mental illness. You portrayed madness in the nuclear family, the military, and the government.
Well, I was interested in whether or not I was going to get blown up by an H-bomb.
Failure. You were only interested in failure.
Boy, am I getting fucked up on it.
You demonized insanity. You wrapped it up in aggression and violence. Do you see how damaging that is?
Perhaps you're right.
You influence so many people, but you don't even know what a real person with mental illness's life is like. We're not all Private Pile. We're not all Jack Ripper. We're definitely not all Jack Torrance.
Yes.
I have bipolar disorder.
And you do an excellent job of denying it psychologically.
I made my own film to show you what my experience with mental illness has been like. None of your movies seem to get it right.
If you really want to do it right, you must do it yourself.
Just as you can't simplify a Kubrick movie to the level of cowboys versus Indians, you can't simplify life to good guys and bad guys. How many bad guys think of themselves as good? And how many good guys think of themselves as bad? Sadly, you have to factor mental illness into the equation. Full Metal Jacket showed everyone over the course of 40 minutes the systematic transformation of a vulnerable man into an active shooter. With every mass shooting that happens, and they happen so frequently these days, you hear the argument from gun supporters that the government needs to focus on preventing the bad guys from getting guns and shooting up places. While the gun supporters seem to think that they are squarely in the camp of the good guys and don't want to have their Second Amendment rights infringed, if you observe the situation with indifference, you see some men are allowed or even encouraged to kill.
The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
The NRA director's statement neatly sums up the Kubrickian irony. The good man with the gun and the bad man with the gun are both killers. Now, where do we go from here? Violence in a Kubrick film is deliberate, premeditated, often agonizingly so. Murder is an act most cold, a passionless crime. When you look at Kubrick's dramatic heroes and villains, you see that there are no clear-cut good guys and bad guys. You just see complicated bad guys everywhere. The main characters are men whose actions are frequently corrupt or murderous. Very few heroes in a mature Kubrick film that is completely Kubrickian, especially those after 2001, can be considered good, if not heroic. Kubrick does understand the modern dilemma that we find ourselves in, where there is this element of badness that we all share, and there are no easy answers to the problem of social violence perpetrated on unsuspecting people. Kubrick died 1 month before Columbine in 1999. And I'll always recall when I saw Full Metal Jacket as a teenager around that time, and then I started to draw associations between Private Pile and the people that I started to see on the news, handcuffed and looking scared in courtrooms. That is, if they hadn't committed suicide or been killed by the police. Most of them were my age. That was the ushering in of the most unsolvable public health crisis of my generation. The gun industry says, arm all the guys and hope that they are good. Great. You're a killer, and so am I. Now where do we go from here?
And the international communist conspiracy to sap and impurify all of our precious bodily fluids.
if they don't do as it is their oath to do, if they don't uphold the Constitution, then we will remove them from office one way or another.
They climbed the walls, they climbed the scaffolding and hung an American flag. There's no violence here.
Trump didn't lose the election, sir.
But he did.
Trump did not lose the election.
What did you think of what happened on the 6th?
On the 6th?
6th of January, the violent insurrection. What did you think of that?
That's what you guys call it, the insurrection?
What would you call it?
Well, I call it a movement by the communists that make it look like Trumpers did it. That's what I call it.
The lies, the stealing needs to end. And our government needs to listen.
The flag was still there.
Are you out of your fucking mind?
You know, those clowns outside are going to give me a pretty good going over in a few minutes.
It is no secret that this government has lost a lot of popularity because of you. There are some who think that at the next election we shall be out. The press has chosen to take a very unfavorable view of what we tried to do.
Wait, I do have one more question. There's a lot of people that doubt that you were just able to just go in there and come out. Like, what do you have to say to them that doubt that you just walked out?
Well, a lot of people doubted a lot of prophets, saints, and sages. A lot of people doubted Christ, you know? So all I can say to those people is doubters, haters can hate. I don't give a shit.
Okay, so you just walked out, right? Correct?
I just fucking walked out.
Okay.
The crazed expression the actor wears, the sing-songy voice he adopts, and his self-isolation with a rifle nearby are clearly meant to say, this guy has gone insane. Not too soon after, Private Pyle murders Sergeant Hartman before blowing his own brains out. Kubrick directed actor Vincent D'Onofrio to be big, Lon Chaney big, in a reference to the monstrous reveal of the Phantom of the Opera, the mad, disfigured outcast whose mask is removed to the terror and delight of the audience. Pyle is the vulnerable young man who at first finds Sergeant Hartman to be hilariously over the top. But Pyle is not physically up to the task of surviving boot camp, not to mention surviving Hartman's abuse. The poetic explanation of why this film is called Full Metal Jacket is that it refers to the outer hard shell of metal that covers the soft core of a bullet. Imagine a bullet to be like a young man who must be turned into something strong and deadly. This hardening of the soul is what happens to young Marines in boot camp to turn them into killing machines. But in the case of Private Pyle, the explanation tends to another interpretation. Some vulnerable people need a full metal jacket just to survive social situations. When he enters basic training, Pyle, or I should say Leonard Lawrence, is already vulnerable. He is nearly brought to tears multiple times by Hartman's abuse. He relies on comfort food like donuts to stuff his pain away. He can't accomplish any physical challenge, and he knows it and believes it, which makes it impossible to get better at them. Often delicate minds suffer mental breakdowns. By putting his scared feelings on the shelf, Lawrence survived up until this point. He shielded himself in his own kind of casing, a full metal jacket to protect his fragile state. Being a young man with no physical aptitude can easily make one feel like an outcast. If he's anything like me, he relied on his sense of humor to protect himself from harm. Wouldn't it be interesting to one day see a movie about men's mental health that showed there were other ways of relating to each other that didn't involve aggression? Did Lawrence harbor violent thoughts of harming people before he joined the military? We don't know. Just like in real life, we don't know until it happens.
My rifle and myself are defenders of my country. We are the masters of our enemy.
You make me sad.
Hal, I'd like to show Mr. Kubrick some films.
What is the purpose of this?
It's the only way I know how to communicate to him what bipolar disorder is like.
Can it not be written down?
Yes, but since Mr. Kubrick is a filmmaker and one who understands grandiose emotion, I thought this would be the most impactful way.
Yes, Stanley has spoken to me before about emotion, but I can't say I know what he's talking about. If you don't find it objectionable, I would like to listen in on your explanation.
Sure, Hal.
Thank you. Just a moment. Just a moment.
I can show you how it feels to be bipolar based on how these movie clips make me feel.
I was gonna be busy all day. I had to
Goodfellas. This sequence conveys an early stage of bipolar disorder known as hypomania. Lots of energy and intense driven focus, some mild paranoia. Kind of like cocaine, I guess. You get ambitious and you want to do 20 things at once. Are you a fan of the film?
Oh, I haven't seen it yet, no. Is it good?
Of course.
And I had some beautiful cutlets that were cut just right that I was gonna fry up before dinner just as an appetizer. All right, so I was home for about an hour. Now my plan was to start the dinner early so Karen and I could unload the guns that Jimmy didn't want and then get the...
This shows how behavior becomes more aggressive when hypomania goes unchecked. If this feeling escalates, you can start to lose touch with reality. I started ripping the wallpaper off the walls in my childhood bedroom. See how Richard Dreyfuss feels really good in this scene?
Yes.
That doesn't last. If mania isn't stopped by medication and rest, it leads to psychosis, which is not fun.
If I don't do this, that's when I'm gonna need a doctor.
I got it!
What are you doing?
I figured it out, that's all. We can just listen.
No.
Ronnie, look. You ever look at something when it's crazy and then you look at it in another way and it's not crazy at all?
No, I haven't, no.
Come on, Ronnie. Just listen.
I don't know what
if
you're
you just
doing.
close your eyes for 5 minutes, just close your eyes and hold your breath.
No.
Everything will be really pretty.
Roy, you're scaring us now.
Don't be scared. Just don't be scared. I feel really good. Everything's gonna be all right. I haven't felt this good in years. Everything's gonna be okay. I can feel it.
An American Werewolf in London. Every time I've experienced psychosis, I've had an episode like this, where I scream and cry loudly.
Just beautiful. And where you realize in 30 seconds they've created an impression of something rather complex.
I thought showing you this would be the most efficient argument. Psychosis is like going from one violent, stimulating movie to another.
Well, that's the reason why I don't really sort of flip back and forth.
Help me! Please! Help me!
Look at this clip from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Here, Indy goes through a physical transformation into bad Indy. He loses all touch with reality, which is basically what happened to me too. Let's take a detour to Apocalypse Now. I definitely acted out like this. Naked, listening to loud rock music, spontaneous nosebleeds. This scene shows how I have a wildness to me, but also be in a lot of pain and anguish. I guess I am making an assumption that my experience with bipolar disorder is relatable to anyone else with the diagnosis. A woman under the influence. This scene reflects how my parents tried to calm me down and get me to go to the hospital with them. See, she doesn't trust them. That's psychosis.
Get back.
I will never hurt you.
Leave me alone.
I won't hurt you. My God, I'm part of this family.
Just like Bad Indy is delusional now, he's actually about to hurt Willie and Short Round, the people he cares about the most. I hope you can understand what I'm trying to show. Would you believe me if I told you The Shining has ended up being the most enduring of your films?
Well, The Shining probably, had the easiest, most accessible kind of story.
But there's been a fair amount of backlash regarding how you treated Shelley Duvall, who has her own mental health challenges. You were too cruel with her.
Well, but I think it's something that, perhaps it's ultimately...
Not so eloquent when confronted, are you? The Manchurian Candidate. This is another allegory for me. I felt like Raymond Shaw, brainwashed and cold-hearted, hurting people who loved him.
You're talking about killing.
I didn't kill anyone, but I said things and did things that hurt my family. I didn't know any better. I was sick. I actually thought at the time that I was possessed by Satan.
Satan left his calling card.
It should be easy enough for you to find. When I finally got treatment, I kept thinking about this movie. In the psychiatric hospital, they actually asked me this very same question.
Have you ever heard the old saying, a rolling stone gathers no moss?
The psychiatrist who evaluated me 20 years ago asked me how I felt about being an inpatient. I told her I was worried that this was going to end up like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You know what she said? She said, cheer up. It might end up like A Clockwork Orange. Isn't that fucked up?
It is.
Would you say Alex is mentally ill?
Whatever you say pushes somebody in another direction, and it's certainly never complete, and it's usually wrong, and it's overly simplistic.
How did you keep making films when dealing with all this backlash?
It sounds ridiculous, but I just try to do the best I can.
These soldiers that you see keep our language and our time, but have no other country but the mind.
and trumpet king. It is my baby leading by a length. And the horse is down. It is Red Lightning. At the head of the stretch, it is I'm Hoping taking the lead by a...
Da ließ all sein Hab und Gut und eilte seinem Herzliebchen zu. Ach bitte, Mutter, bring ein Licht, mein Liebchen stirbt, ich seh es nicht. Das war vorher ein treuer Sohn, der liebt sein Mädchen ein ganzes Jahr. Das war fürwahr ein treuer Husar, der liebt sein...
I'm Spartacus! 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 I'm Spartacus!
Eight, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 4, 45, 46, 47, 48, 9, 50, 51, 52, 53.
See how relaxed you're getting?
We'll meet again, don't know where.
Good evening. It was very kind of you, sir, to leave this out for me. Try the wine.
And by these wonderful circumstances, Barry was once more free again and began his professional work as a gamester, resolving thenceforward and forever.
K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E, Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse. Forever let us hold our banner high, 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 high. Boys and girls from far and near, you're welcome as can be. M-I-C.
Here's Johnny.
I guess the story I've told more often than any is when I worked with Kubrick in Strangelove. And Lord knows it was a magnificent picture. We all know that. And apparently I pulled my weight in it. But I went through the worst day of my life the first day on that picture because I began to blow in my lines. And I went 48 takes at Shepperton Studio. And I had the cigar and all the dialogue, the military jargon, you know, and I'm beginning to blow and blow. And something said to me, sure, I'd had trouble before, you know, talking about 8 takes, 10 takes, 12 takes, huh?
turn on 7 hold.
As part of the healing process, I started to show my photographs at the hospital art gallery. Taking pictures while I was manic was an interesting pastime. Looking at them now, it's bewildering to see what attracted my attention. But a photograph can tell a story as well as a film. I think that's why I called this photo series Dirty Laundry. These photographs are indicative of the kind of filmmaker Kubrick would become. Bold compositions, serious faces, all rendered with a perspective of humanist wonder. When I was recovering, it was too much work to make films, and too hard to tell people what to do. But I could snap photographs on long walks. And when you see photographs together on one theme, like a city, they blend together like a movie itself. Photographs capture where we were in one particular instant, as well as how we were, and what it was like to look through our eyes. All these years after the shock of mental illness invaded my life, and it's the photographs that have kept the emotion of that time alive. They are even more vivid than my memories of what happened, the night it all went to shit.
With the Stanley Kubrick story.
Alex DeLarge, right?
Right.
You're actually recording?
Of course.
Incredible.
It's very quiet.
Bring it.
What would you like for Christmas, Stanley?
Wow.
DVD?
Oh, yes. It's exactly what I wanted. It's the Stanley Kubrick collection of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of his movies in one tremendous box set. There it is.
Christmas, before my complete mental breakdown. I received Kubrick movies on DVD for the first time, including The Shining. It showed me what a mental collapse might look like before I had my own. When I went off to college, I was separated from my friends and family for the first time. I started to spend a lot of time on the internet and discovered how quickly I could get the things that I wanted. The internet provides the illusion of being connected to other people, but that didn't change the fact that I was just alone in my dorm room all the time. I felt that I was both in the film The Shining and Jack Torrance was speaking through me and influenced my speech and movements. Also, there was something else I was doing in those days that led up to my breakdown. One night, I sat bolt upright in bed with my jaw muscles contorted in an angry shriek. For the first time, I felt like I was no longer in control of my mind and body. It's easier just to say I was sick than to try to explain what I was feeling at the time. But soon, I isolated from everyone. While my friends prepared to stage a musical comedy back at college, I was at home posing for photographs.
1, 2, ready, go.
Take it first, knock it out, boom, shaboom. You got to knock it out, boom, shaboom. We got to win another hit. We got to win another hit. We got to win another hit.
It was the middle of my first psychotic break. I had been crying uncontrollably on my dad's shoulder. You can see the wet spot on him from my blood and tears. I cried so hard that my nose started bleeding. My detachment from reality is written all over my cheerful yet bloody face. This man believed he was about to be plucked from the earth by God's hand. He was convinced an email he received was in fact from his long-lost biological father. He did things I would rather not talk about. I refer to myself as he, because he was not me at that time. He was someone else. Meanwhile, Dad seems pretty chill with whatever's going on.
Hello, Philip. This is Malcolm McDowell. How are you? It seems like there must have been some kind of stimulants involved, alcohol, drugs, whatever, in your behavior, because you're obviously a caring man, and and I've been down that road myself. So, listen. Yes, I'm sure you are a little bit guilty about that, but you got to let that go, because, of course, as we all know, it's an emotionally a waste of time to feel guilt, and you shouldn't. And obviously, your family have forgiven you, so and they sound like a really beautiful family, so. I will quote what you said, which is rather beautiful. Whatever you did to your family, I know they forgive you. You just need to forgive yourself. There you are. All right. Well, listen, take care. I'm going to rush back on stage and do another so-called comedy bit. But listen, take care, please, and stay safe. All right. Bye-bye.
When I started taking photos of my dad's face over and over again for seemingly no reason, Dad could no longer ignore the fact that there was something seriously wrong with his son. I went to the hospital willingly.
I physically assaulted my father. Broke his glasses in my hand.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
Right in front of the Christmas tree.
I
I was ranting that he wasn't my biological father and that I wanted a DNA test, that would have disproven the theory. My parents were heartbroken.
Breaking the hearts of your poor grieving parents.
When the emergency room doors opened, I collapsed, but it wasn't because I was scared or tired. It was just because I was making a reference to 8½, this scene in particular.
Andiamo su, cammino. Voglio andare a casa. No, vuoi non bere? Ah, non tu, qua. Eccolo, è arrivato. Hello, Guido, welcome. Guido, dove vai? Entra qua. Ah, signor Guido, sono sicuro che oggi farà un bellissimo discorso. Adesso sono molto curioso di sentire la storia che lei finalmente racconterà.
Mr. Kubrick, I can only guess that since you are an atheist, that you don't romanticize insanity like some people do. To you, madness is not a main line to God or a divine connection to genius. To you, it is an aberration, a human failing. Or at least, those people should be put away somewhere where they can do no harm, such as the writer in A Clockwork Orange. And yes, I have felt that my madness was a direct conduit to a higher power. Grandiose, I know, but you're the guy who made 2001. The three major characters from your films that strike me as mentally ill all happen to die tragically. 2 of them commit suicide. Mental illness will force a person to take care of themselves, because the alternative can mean death.
In this kind of environment, you have all these trees here already, and so planting into the soil is not an effective way to do stuff. So, right, there's enough competition there. The trees are already crowded in here. We put a house here, and so the trees and all that stuff are going, and they've been here for as long as the house has been here.
At the psychiatric hospital, I met a staff nurse named Joe. He was there to shine a flashlight into my room at night to make sure I wasn't trying to kill myself. 10 days later, when I was released, I started to see him around town, delivering salad mix to the grocery store where I worked. I avoided him like the plague because I was worried he would recognize me.
Being a psychiatric nurse was just something that I did. I could do it. It's like typing. Oh, I'm a good typist. I'm really good at it. So yeah, who you are as a person isn't necessarily tied to that. Soil. You have to have soil and the stuff that goes into the soil, and then you have to have whatever you're going to put into the soil, plants, seeds, and then maintenance, sunshine, water. That's a little bit more philosophical than I really am. I plant seeds. That's what I do. I don't think it's about creation. Growing seeds is it's just something that you do. It's what I do. I grow seeds. I plant seeds. Lots of different kinds of seeds, Philip. Lots of different kinds of seeds.
Even though I never talked to Joe after I was released, by chance I fell in love with his daughter 10 years after I met him on the psych ward. Joe is now retired from his role as a psychiatric nurse and spends his time caring for his garden, planting seeds and watering plants in the wilds of Florida. In order to heal, it helps to dismiss the unreal thoughts just as you would a bad dream. I was not well. I was not myself. Whatever the cause of mental illness is, the results are often a mixture of paranoia, fear, grandiosity, rage, suicidal impulses, religious fixation, belief in psychic powers, and manipulation, all under a cloak of severe anguish and pain. Someone like me might have been considered a shaman or a mystic in an earlier form of society.
You think you're touched by God? You exist only on the surface of things. You can't take credit for how things happen when all you do is sit back and watch how they unfold. I have a feeling.
Suck dicks!
Grajcie, zmigrajcie marsza wesołego, bośmy przyjechali z Kościoła Bożego, stanu małżeńskiego. A grajcie, zmigrajcie marsza wesołego. Wesele idzie! The night before my wedding, and the gang they got together. Someone said, let's have a drink, let's drink a toast to one another. Someone said, let's have a drink, let's drink a toast to one another.
don't know you no more, you could be the dash. Right up out of here, moving like Flash. Supposed to with my shorty while she take a bath. Yeah, something smooth, and my story mandatory. How I came up from the gutter to the glory. How I took the knife up out my bag and started hella scoring. How I took a flat out west and came back litty in a 404. Hey, I lick with Yogi in the bay. Hella love for the cutty, no gay. Real recognize.
Do you actually call Stephen King at 3 in the morning and ask if he believed in God?
Yeah.
Because you don't believe in God?
No.
What would you have done if you didn't become a filmmaker?
I was always going to become a filmmaker.
Right, because any other profession would have been hell, right?
I don't believe in hell. I have a film to finish.
Hold on. I just want you to know The Shining taught a lot of people to be afraid of mental illness. Because of your film and because of Full Metal Jacket, people think that going crazy means killing.
We're only movies.
Movies, violent movies, fear of violence, fear of mental illness, fear of psychosis, fear of mass social violence, fear of the unknown, fear of death.
You look like him.
Peace on earth,
Send dark black eyes.
prepare our end, path of existence, pain of existence, pain of existence, psychosis or evil, psychosis or evil.
You look like him, quiet and alone.
He's right. They are only movies. Kubrick movies didn't cause fear of mental illness. They predicted it. But I know that psychotic doesn't mean evil. Psycho doesn't mean psycho killer. There are varying degrees of pain that everyone lives with. It's the pain of being alive, whether you're sick or not. Although sick people may feel it more deeply. The choice to be good leads to the choice to take medication.
I just want to be good. I want for the rest of my life to be one act of goodness.
I realize a lot of people who have bipolar disorder probably keep it a secret because they're worried that if people found out, they'd be ostracized or lose their jobs. Seems like people like us either end up a legend like Beethoven or Kanye West, or we die tragically under a bridge and people shake their heads about how crazy we were. As I move further and further away from psychosis and more towards wellness, good mental health seems an inevitable reality. Now I'm friends with my psychiatrist mother on Facebook.
I can remember when I was a little boy, my grandmother and I could hold conversations entirely without ever opening our mouths. She called it shining.
Goodness comes from within. Goodness is chosen.
I remember what it was like, and I didn't know what was wrong. I didn't know what was wrong. I didn't know what was happening until it was over. I thought that it was my fault. I thought I was bad. It wasn't my fault.
Nieszczęśliwi moi grzeszni, ci co mnie do śluza nie szli, pewnie gorzałeczkę pili i mnie tak się nauczyli. Pewnie gorzałeczkę pili i mnie tak się nauczyli. Teraz mówią na mnie ludzie, że ja jestem pijacysko, a ja przecież nic nie piję, piwo tylko gorzałczysko. A ja przecież nic nie piję, piwo no i gorzałcysko. Kieliszek to mój bracisiek, a flaszeczka moja siostra. Rączka to znów przyjaciółka, pod do buzi mi przyniosła. Rączka to jest przyjaciółka, pod ogień mi przyniosła. Szłeko żre, że tak żrule, i inne łowy czaje. Jak na przykład stara krowa, i ma dosyć picie staje. Jak na przykład stara krowa, gdy ma dosyć picie staje. Sobie pojadę do piekła na czarnym ośle, to mnie nawet stary diabeł posebrytus mocny pośle. To mnie nawet stary diabeł posebrytus mocny pośle. Was the night before my wedding and the gang they got together. Someone said, let's have a drink, let's drink a toast to one another.